RVN's newer television shows, What the Why with Barbara Ann. If you're joining us for the first time, our show features conversations with diverse leaders from all walks of life about why they do what they do and how they figured out what they were meant to do in their life. Whether you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, or you feel stuck and want to get unstuck in your life or your business, all of our guests have something in common with you. They felt the same way at some point in their lives. So whether you found us by accident or on purpose, thank you for joining us. Today's guest is JoAnn Morgano, MBA and CRPC, financial advisor with Ameriprise Financial LLC and the Laurel Oak Wealth Management Group, and you're going to hear shortly what that means. If her name sounds familiar, it's not your imagination. JoAnn co-hosts RVN Television's It's Your Money with JoAnn and Martin. She's a wealth of financial information, pun intended, and she's joining us to do something she doesn't get to do on her other show. And that is, she's here to tell us her story, her why. So she's joining us for a conversation about how she found her purpose in life by helping people, especially women and other non-majority populations, achieve their financial goals through access to knowledge and tools, and her ongoing efforts to diversify the financial services industry. JoAnn holds a Bachelor of Science in Marketing from LaSalle University and an MBA Finance Marketing from Drexel University. So she's involved in many different organizations. And so without further ado, I would like to welcome JoAnn Morgano.
Thank you, Barbara Ann. It's really good to be here with you. And it's different, a little change to sit on this side of the studio and this side of the table. But thank you for having me. I tend to be quite shy, so I don't really want to talk so much about myself, but we'll go into some of the key questions.
Okay.
All
Which
right?
is great, because there's a lot of you out there are shy as well.
I know. I hated my wedding day, actually, and that was many, many years ago. I hated it. I hated the camera following me and people looking at me, telling me I looked nice. I just couldn't wait to get out of it.
Yeah, but
I am more a sidelines person.
Okay, which is interesting because when you do talk about finance, you're very passionate.
Yes.
So it makes it that much more authentic.
Yes.
People who know that you're otherwise kind of
Yes.
shy, when you get really engaged, you get engaged. So, of course, I had given you an advance notice about this. One of the questions that everybody asks on almost every show, and you'll find out what that means in a couple of weeks, is everyone has a story. So, what did you want to be when you were growing up?
Okay, so when I was 18, I really wanted to be an anchor woman, and I had some tragedy in my family. My parents were getting divorced, and it was a very volatile time, and I could not leave them. So our family was small, so I really admire people that are at that age, at 18, 22, that know exactly what they want to do. They don't let anything interfere with it, and they go ahead and do it. But I did not do that. I started in advertising, and then I moved to financial services, and then I went into healthcare marketing, and finally I am in this position. So I am a career shifter. I started about 14 years ago as an investment advisor. So I always wanted to be in a position to help people, and I was motivated because I have twin daughters that are 28, and I wanted them to have a lot of opportunities that maybe I didn't have, and a lot of us certainly didn't have a lot of opportunities growing up. So that was my primary motivation. And also, as a woman in heavily dominated male industries, back then even advertising was male dominated, as well as financial services, I wanted to make a difference with women, and I knew what compensation levels were. I knew I wasn't getting paid what I should. So I wanted my girls to have more advantages than I did. And I think that's the goal of all parents too.
Yeah, well, first of all, it's hard to believe that you have twins that are actually 28 years old.
They are.
But,
they are.
Yeah,
But the
that's
full
awesome.
circle, though, I mean, I do have a money show here on RVN Television, It's Your Money, with JoAnn and Martin. Martin is not my partner that I work with in financial services, but we kind of met through just kind of a connection, and it worked well. So, you know, we enjoy doing the show. So maybe I have come full circle a little bit with, you know, being in broadcasting a little bit. So that is good.
And it's a
Right.
popular show.
It is. We have a lot of nationwide viewers, and our format is I find it interesting. We talk a little bit about the market, but as advisors, we are not allowed to give direct recommendations because everything depends on the actual investor and their suitability, so many things. So I could never say, invest in this stock or whatever, but I can talk about sectors and what's going on in the economy and in the market. So I like that. So I really do love what I do. It is a challenge and it is very exciting though. The highs are high, but those lows are low. So.
Which is exactly what's going on with the stock market right now.
Right. So we call it like the emotional ride of the emotional roller coaster ride of the stock market. And, it is really, it's one of the first things we learned is that, it's euphoric when you're at the top, when you have an investment that's doing well, and then when it starts to change, you go through a lot of series of emotions like disbelief, it'll come back. And then as it keeps going down, it turns into more like a little grief, wait a minute, despair. So I like to, when I work with my clients, it's not only important to talk about what you know and how you can help them, but it's also important that you help manage their emotions. And there are two emotions that control this stock market and control this financial world, and it is fear and greed. So we are at probably the fear point with a lot of clients. They are starting to panic. What is going on? I should sell. I do get some of those panic calls, but not a lot because I think I've been good at managing that. And then we have the greed. The greed type that's very hard to help with investors too because they always want it to go higher and higher and hang on there, it's going to go higher. And so we know that in November we topped that highest point of the market. And that was a time where, we were telling investors, start taking a little percentage, take a little, off the top, so that when you are in a down market, like this, a little bit down, that you have that extra cash so that you can go back in and start to buy things. And we like to say it's on a discount, but it takes a lot of stamina to do that when the market is going down and you're like, should I put in, it's very hard for people to do that. So with good investment advice, good research, I think that investors, should start, if they have the money now, they should start considering making some moves because we feel that it is going to flatline soon.
Now, you've been doing this for
14 years.
Yeah, I was going to say over a decade, but
14
years is a long time. And surprisingly, even when you entered into this industry, you would think that in 2000 timeframe there would be a level of diversity that still didn't exist then, and still is a challenge today. What gave you the courage to enter into?
Well, I think first with women, there's a lot of good news about women. Women control 51% of the personal wealth in the United States. They are growing the wealth $5 trillion a year globally. They are business owners, and they are, by 2030, it's predicted that we're going to control 2/3 of the wealth. But there's three major problems that women have, and hopefully it will get better. One is the wage gap. We make 81 cents to every dollar that a man makes. That is significant. That significantly affects what we save for retirement, how our Social Security earnings are calculated. The second thing is that we are out of the workforce longer. We are taking care of children when we get out. We come up with a lot more flexible arrangements than men to, be at home with our children. And then, we move from that sandwich generation to the point where we're starting to take care of elderly parents. And that is the situation that I'm in. And then the third thing is women live longer. We live longer till about age 88. And I know that when I do my financial plans, I project it out to age 95 because being a good advisor, you don't want your clients to run out of money because medical advances and everything that's going on, people are living longer. So they have to have their money, and those are the challenges. But with the diversity field, the diversity world, I definitely think IQ is very, very important, okay? So you have to be smart to be in this business, and I'm not giving myself kudos, but you have to know a lot. We're heavily regulated. Yeah. I don't know every answer. I don't know a lot of the answers, but you have to know how to get those answers. But I think the key in this world is to have that EQ, that emotional quotient. Yes. And I find that that has really, really helped me. It's helped me work with women over 50. What are their unique concerns? You know, with the AAPI group, Asian American Pacific Islanders, you know, knowing that they're at a point where it's very important that they take care of their parents. Just to understand that when they come in and talk to you, that makes you a lot more relatable. With the LGBTQ group, you know, that's very important. Having families to them is very important. But how do they get there? Through non-traditional means, through IVF, through all of that. So when you can speak to that and help them with that, they like that. And you know, with the Latino and Hispanic groups and Black and people of color groups, there's a lot of issues that are unique to each of them that are different from the groups. And then you have the congruence where, you know, I could work with a woman who's over 50 and she's Black. So she is making less than other women. Yeah,
she's making about 69 cents to the 81 cents that the white female
and if she is in that LGBTQT group, then she may have other concerns, and leaving a legacy is not that important to her because she may not have children. So very traditionally, they want to spend down their money. And other groups that are in more traditional groupings, they want to leave a legacy. So I think that is very important, that for any advisor or when you are considering working with an advisor, that they are relatable to you and they can understand what is important to your life. And certainly it is really the questioning that needs, you have to ask really good questions to get to that, because let's face it, not everybody knows everything about their lives and how it's rolling. You know, for so many of us, life is a journey, and there's no book with it. Is there? Did you have a book, Barbara?
I have never seen an operating manual, as far as I know. And I know when I gave birth to my son, he didn't come with one.
You know, and a lot of times when people meet me, they're like, I don't have my information. I don't, you know. So they really think that they have to be very specific with what they need to talk when, you know, the first conversations we have. But really, I learn a lot by two of my most favorite questions in the world. And I am going to share with you what they are. The first one is, if you had 24 hours to live, what would your biggest regret be? And that tells me a lot when I hear the answer, okay? And sometimes I will have 25-year-olds say, I don't have any regrets because I've lived my life the way I've really wanted to. And then in the older population, they will say, I have regrets because I did not, you know, save more money and can't leave a legacy. And then my other question that I like to ask, and it really helps me build a values-based plan, financial plan for people. The other question that I ask is, if you had 6 months to live, what would you do? And so what would you do if you had 6 months to live? And most people inevitably say, oh, I would travel. And then then I realize travel is important. And people just say, oh, my milestone is only retirement and I want to retire at this age. But I think when you build something that you help people understand what their values are and you make a plan that is congruent to that, they get on board, and then they get very excited about savings and doing all that. Because let's face it, we are an instant society. Yep. Everybody wants everything. Nobody wants to save for things. Nobody wants to make those adjustments that are necessary.
So let's pick up on that topic when we come back from our commercial break. So we'll be back shortly with more with JoAnn on What the Why. Welcome back to What the Why with our guests today, JoAnn Morgano, financial advisor extraordinaire, And before the break, we were actually talking about how people prepare for the things that they really do want to do in life. And you asked some really challenging questions to help prompt those conversations along, especially the one about travel.
Right.
What are some of the other things that people mention that they want to do when they have 6 months to live?
Well, primarily the question, people want to travel, so I help them figure out where do they want to go, what do they want to do. But some people do want to maybe start a business or have something in retirement because, you know, when I retired several people during COVID, it was not optimal for those people because they couldn't go out, they couldn't golf, they couldn't do anything. So they felt isolated, like most of the world did, as we worked in our own homes. But people really, sometimes they like to have a little sidekick or a side hustle, and that's important, that they may want to, you know, volunteer. And so I help them understand what that is if that's not on the business side. But on the business side, it is difficult to start a business. I mean, you know, I shifted from a career, but I still had a career. So I worked part-time in this field while I had a big day job. I wanted to see if I liked it. But when people go cold turkey and switch to a new, you know, because everybody hears that being your own business, you're your own boss, and it's very glamorized.
Yes, it is extremely glamorized, and this
is.
is where you and I, what we do in one of the many ways that we intersect.
Right, and I think that people, when they realize it's not that glamorous, and there is, and it's not for everybody. There's something to be said about going to work, doing your time, coming back and getting a steady paycheck. In the fields that we're in, our paychecks are not steady and they're not predictable. So it's important that people realize that. So a lot of times, if you're so driven by your passion that it keeps you awake at night, then I would tell you, get into, you know, a business that you feel that you want to change the world or that it will change you.
Which is great. And test drive it a little bit. Do more research. I mean, during my time with the Small Business Administration, we would get the Monday morning calls. Oh, everybody raved about my pie. I want to open a bakery. Have you ever worked in a bakery? You're telling me that you are 59 years old, you've never worked in a bakery before, but everybody loved your pie, and now you want to work in a bakery, and you're going to liquidate your retirement funds to pay for it.
No.
Not the best idea in most circumstances. There are some that have been able to do it, but we're in the middle of what everybody calls the Great Resignation. And a lot of people have decided to start businesses, and that can be a route. But
it can be a route, but you know,
to your point,
I look at what people have available to start their business. So certainly you need to have a reserve to do that. You, like Barbara Ann said, you don't want to hit your retirement savings because you can never take a loan on your retirement. I mean, I even have these conversations with parents that want to give their kids the education of the child's dream and send them anywhere and everywhere, and then when they see the funds, they're like, well, I'll take it out on my retirement. And I'm like, no, that is, you know, your child has, at age 22, many, many years to get to their retirement and make up that difference, but don't do that. So, you know, we'll make a recommendation for community college, especially because it is hard to know what you want to do at age 18.
Absolutely.
I admire people that know they want to be doctors, lawyers, or engineers, but that didn't happen in me, and maybe that didn't happen to you.
It didn't happen to me. I either wanted to go what they used to call radio, television, film, or I wanted to be a doctor. And then I ended up going to school for political science, and one of the few people that actually uses aspects of my degree. But it's not at all how I intended to start my career, and it took me 5 years.
Yes, and so when people are thinking about a business, I start to ask them very pointed questions so that I can tie a goal to it and a dollar amount. So, okay, so you want to start a business. Well, what do you think you need? How many staff do you need? What do you think those salaries would be? Oh, your website. What is your website going to be? Oh, you want people to order from your website. How much do you think that's going to cost? And then we start looking at the numbers because everybody is kind of pie in the sky. It always, It sounds so appealing, and it is for so many people. But there is that group of people that, don't. It's fine to work in a regular 9 to 5 job or 9 to 6 job.
Or keep it small on the side, like you said.
Yeah, maybe we call it a little side hustle.
Side hustle.
Side
hustles are a great thing, and and it does. It gives you a chance to kind of just dip your toe in the water, see if it's for you, without jeopardizing what you have.
It can't be a conflict of interest with your current employer.
Sure.
We would never recommend that. And but it's doable if you want to do. But the purpose that I try to fulfill for my clients is that through financial planning, you can realize your dreams. And when I was young at 32 and found out I was pregnant with the twins, I was like, oh, I never thought, you only think of one baby at a time, never two. And I wanted to provide certain things for them. And that's how I got on board as being, thinking, maybe this financial planning process is really a good thing.
And it's worked out for you and so many people that you've helped along the way.
And that is rewarding with my job. I've said that the highs are high and the lows are low, but usually they are middle to the road. And especially when I get a note from someone that is younger and said, I couldn't buy my house without your guidance, I really appreciate it. That is so fulfilling to me, and that really means a lot. And I think if you want to get in this field as an investment advisor.
Which was going to be my next question. I was going to say, there's somebody out there right now who's thinking, gee, I've always wanted to do this.
Yes.
How do I do it?
You need to be relatable, the IQ you need, but that comes. We always have advanced learning. There's always learning opportunities for us. But work on that EQ. That EQ is so important, that you are relatable to people, that you understand what they're trying to do, why they need to do what they want to do, and what you can apply in your experience to help them.
Yeah, and you're right, especially the EQ, or for those who may not be familiar with what that is, emotional intelligence or empathy. Just plain empathy. There's so many people that don't really understand what empathy means. And to be good at what you do,
emotional quotient.
you do. You really, you have to be able to sit in a place of non-judgment and advise what's appropriate, because this person is making decisions about their future.
You have to be honest. And I work as a fiduciary, so I work in best interest of my clients.
Right.
I never recommend anything that's going to give me more money. That would just be so unethical in my business.
Yeah.
And many of us do work as fiduciaries, so that's really, really important. And I said to my husband, I was telling him a little thing, and he's like, Mom, you've always had that. You should be used to this. I said, you have very low EQ. And he said, what is that? And I said, something you don't have.
You did mention something because there are people out there that call themselves planners that are not fiduciaries.
Right.
So there is a difference between the two. Someone who is a fiduciary like JoAnn works for you. The best interests are for you. Someone who's not a fiduciary may still have good intentions, but they are not really, truly bound to your best interests.
And I would always advise anyone to work with someone who's holistically focused on you, to look at all that is involved in your life that relates to a financial picture. Not one transaction, not one thing that you should have. That person should really look at your gaps, things that are, if you don't have these certain protections that would really hurt you if something happened to you in an unforeseen circumstance or to your family. And then, people should look at your whole tax situation and make you diversify in products that you're in your assets, and also diversify you from a tax standpoint too. So that doesn't come easy to do for some people, but when you work with a good advisor, they're knowledgeable, they can set you in the right path, in the right direction, and it's worth the fees, it's worth the time investment, and when you do pay the fees, you are involved. And if you got everything free in your life, if your father gave you a car when you were young, and for free, you would not take care of that car. If you worked for that car, you would take very good care of that car. And it's just the way we are as human beings.
Yeah, what we invest in, we value more.
Absolutely.
So we're actually getting close to time. So I guess the one last question our viewers may want to know, I want to know, is what is one myth about your industry that you would like to debunk? Because there's a lot of people have misconceptions about what it means to do what you do.
Yeah, I like that question, and that is a good question. I think the good thing about the myth I'd like to debunk is that there are competent, qualified people out there that help you for your best interests, and just remember that. There, we've heard of all those people that did the bad things, the Ponzi schemes that, took Billy Joel to the cleaners with his money, and he was so busy performing. He's an artist. He wasn't out there watching his money. So, there are really good people in the financial services profession that are here to help you.
And here's one of them right here.
Barb.
Seriously.
Well, thank you for not asking so many personal questions about me.
No.
But you got me on a roll about what I do, why I do it, and I like that.
And that's why we're here. And I think one of the big things that everyone got from this today is that your why really is to help people.
It is.
And
It
so
is.
anybody out there who's thinking about this, what would be the best way for them to contact you?
They can reach me directly. They can reach me at 856-797-0200, extension 128, and that is my office number. Or certainly they can reach out to you, Barbara Ann, and I know that you would, help me
Absolutely.
get to that person.
I've sent somebody to you already who I'm like, you got to call her, you got to call her.
Thank you, Barbara Ann.
And thank you for taking.
Thank you. I love the connection that we have. I love that you're my host sister,
I know.
sort of, that we see each other at functions on the studio. So, it's just been a good experience.
I'm so
thank
glad.
you.
So
And I wish you good luck on your show.
Thank you.
Your viewership will grow, and as you bring on more guests and they realize the potential that they can brand with this television station, I think that will really help, and just being associated with you. So thank you for this
thank you.
opportunity.
Thank you so much. And speaking of new guests, additional guests, because our guests that are scheduled for next week is actually, we have two guests for the first time. Sergeant Brett D'Alessandro and his, actually they're not married yet, so she's still his fiance, Alexis Mordero. And they're the team behind a nonprofit called Backpacks for Life. When Sergeant D'Alessandro returned home from a 7th-month deployment to Afghanistan, to what he thought was the end of a very long road, he quickly learned that an even longer road filled with struggle and confusion lay ahead for him. And that road would go through many twists and turns until he, along with the support of his fiancée, Alexa, formed the nonprofit organization Backpacks for Life. Since 2014, Backpacks for Life has been dedicated to serving homeless and at-risk veterans through backpack distribution and a mentorship program, and that doesn't even begin to explain the breadth of what they do. The team works one-on-one with veterans to help them find the right supportive services for their situation, and he found his why and healing in this process, and they will be here to talk about the things that they do and what is special about the backpacks. The week after that, we will actually return with a taped episode that was filmed at Willow Creek Winery in Cape May, where you will hear from a very unique surprise guest. So you're going to have to tune in both next week to hear from Brett and Alyssa, and then the following surprise guest the week of Memorial Day week. As a reminder, What the Why airs at 1 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays Eastern Daylight Time, and then again on Mondays at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and is also available on demand and Roku within a day or two of the first airing of each episode. So whether you're looking to make changes in your life or career or your business, no matter how big or small, please join us again for more inspirational and informative conversations with guests like JoAnn, to hear how people who wanted to make changes in their life overcame their fears and obstacles to find their purpose and live it.